Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 5. My gosh, episode 5. I can't believe it. I can't believe that this is actually happening. I say that every time, but it's true. Like, this was such a just let's, throw caution to the wind and just chuck this bad boy out there. And it just seems to be having such a wonderful effect and impact on our community, on our parent community. And I'm just so humbled by that and how many parents have reached out just to say how much they're loving it and enjoying it. And I don't think you guys know how much that means to me, getting that feedback, because I don't know unless people tell me, right? Like, I'll just sit here and I'll interview these wonderful parents and I'll just chat to you on here. And I don't know. Like, I don't know. Is it landing well? Is it being received well? Who knows? So when you guys actually take the time to share and send me a message, I love it, guys, because it really does keep me going. And knowing it's making an impact just makes it such a no-brainer for me to keep going and to keep putting this out into the world, because it is just, I think, such an important space that isn't being served that much in the podcast world. And so I'm just really happy that I get to deliver that to you guys, basically. Anyway, you may have noticed a bit of a pattern here with the podcast at the moment. I'm doing a solo and then generally trying to interview someone on the next week and then solo again. And that's sort of I've done that intentionally because, well, the huge reason is because of editing and just being able to get these episodes out to you, but also just giving you that variety as well. And I do plan to get a few professionals on here soon, as well as a few deaf community members, deaf parents. I just think we need to be bringing in all the resources into this space. And I just can't wait to share some of those chats and interviews with you, because I know how rich they're going to be. And I just cannot wait to be a part of bringing that to you. So that is really exciting. But for today, team, it's just little old me, and I'm chatting about something that oh man, this is like such an important topic, and also something that is very close to my heart, and something that is so relevant and common in the sessions I have with families and the chats I'm having within our RB Club private community, which is our online parent community that is sort of a membership space that I have created for parents. Um, and at the moment, it's just for our boot campers, so those who have gone through boot camp or those who are currently going through boot camp. But I do plan to open up the RB Club community to a broader audience next year, which I'm really excited about. So watch this space. But it is just such a beautiful community. And we have just been talking a lot about this topic at the moment, this mental load. Obviously being a parent in general, raising kids is wild, right? Am I right? No one tells you. No one tells you. Uh, it's it's chaos. But the mental load, there is definitely an added layer when you are raising a child where the world has not been designed for them in mind, right? Or with them in mind, should I say. And so that does create a whole new layer. There's a whole role of advocacy, which I've spoken in length about on this podcast already. There's the increased appointments. There's all the knowledge and information and the rabbit holes we have to go down just to sort of get our head around this new space, right? There are so many hours and so much time and commitment and effort just to ensure that our child's basic human rights are met. And it sort of sounds kind of crazy that that's what we have to do, but that is what we have to do. And with that comes such an added layer within this mental load. And I really wanted to talk about that today and provide some solutions. I like to come with solutions because I think it can be just so overwhelming and just like, where do I start? Where do I begin? And a lot of the time we think we're on our own going through this. And I can guarantee you right now, you're not. Whatever you're feeling right now on this journey as a parent, you are not alone. I've probably felt exactly what you're feeling at some point. I know a lot of people think that I don't or I'm immune to a lot of the feelings that new parents of deaf kids have on the journey because I was already in the deaf education space. I'm already fluent in Australian Sign Language before I had my deaf son. So it can feel like we are separate in our journeys, but I guarantee you there is so many parallels there. I can't even begin. I feel all the things. I feel all the things. I feel the guilt. I feel the doubt. I feel the uncertainty. I feel the sadness. I feel the anger. I am right there with you. So hey, come on in. Come on in and let's get on this journey together because it really is such a community that we're creating here. And yeah, I just want to contribute in supporting you through that with the knowledge that I'm privileged to have. And that's why we're here. Anyway, tangent. Let's get back to the real talk. So I wanted to talk about three simple ways. And yes, simple. I do say simple because they are. When I'm not asking you to do anything ridiculous or crazy here, but these are three simple yet powerful ways that we as parents on this journey can ease the mental load. Um, and these are ones that I do very regularly and have sort of built up over time, but they're also just so common in the conversations I'm having with seasoned parents of deaf kids who've sort of been in the game for a while and they've, made all the mistakes and done all that stuff. And they've really come to this sort of outcome as well, where we need to start looking after ourselves and the mental load that we're carrying. Otherwise, it will control us and it will take over our world. Um, and it can be so damaging if we allow it to get too far, and we get too far down that road of overwhelm and just feeling completely hopeless and helpless, which yes, I have also been there. So I'm hoping that these tips today are going to provide you with some direction and a little mini action plan moving forward. So I think I'll start with the first one, which I is honestly so important. And a lot of us do this innately when we are going on a journey that not everyone is on, right? So whether that's, motherhood's obviously quite a common journey, but before you're a mum, it's just different, right? You're on a different path, and then you become a mum, and you've crossed this bridge, and you're now part of this crew and you reach out, right? You reach out to mums, you reach out to people who have the same age kids as you. You join your mother's group, you connect with the friends who are also having babies at the same time, all that sort of stuff. You find your people. And so that is my first one that I wanted to touch on it. And that is to create a really strong support village around you that you can seek out comfort, ask questions. It's just a no judgment zone where you can just completely be you as you navigate this wild, 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 wild journey. And it's about surrounding yourself with people who are really aligned with your journey as well, because we know that things can get chaotic. And unfortunately, sometimes our friendships and relationships break down from being on this journey. And if that's happening to you, that's more common than you think. And it's nothing that you're doing. It's just this path is a really unique one. And sometimes you just need to really be surrounded by those who get it, just so you're not feeling like you're constantly re-educating, re-justifying, sort of, advocating to the people that you feel like you shouldn't have to advocate to, all of that stuff. And so this network of people, this village around you could be family, could be friends, could be other parents of deaf children, advocacy groups and professionals. So yes, obviously parents of deaf children are the village, the core people within the village because they are like 100% on the same journey in so many ways. But also creating a village where people just have aligned views as well is really important on top of that. So making sure you're specialists, making sure all the professionals in your child's life, speechies, audiologists, ENTs, OTs, anyone, psychologists, physiotherapists, anyone who is involved in your child's life, that they are aligned and respect your family philosophy and the approach that you're taking with your child. And a lot of that comes back to that bilingual model and that inclusion of signs language, because this seems to be the biggest thing that people find conflict with within that space when they're going to specialists and professionals is that there is that still not that respect and understanding of the need for a sign language and just the awareness and the knowledge around it. And so a lot of the time we have people who will go to these appointments and they're, whether they're gaslit or they've been, told that it's ridiculous, you don't need that. You don't know why you're wasting your time on that. Or it could just be more comments that shut down that approach and make you feel like you're second guessing yourself, or even that you just don't know what you know. And maybe you start to think, oh, maybe I'm wrong. You shouldn't feel like that in your village. And so this is why seeking out those parents who are on the same journey and are having the same experience is so important as a core connection. But also everywhere your child goes, they should be within this aligned space when it comes to their intervention, and their home life and their family life. And that again comes to family and friends as part of that village. I actually developed a course for extended family and friends who require some more education around the deaf and hard of hearing space, and maybe just need to hear it from someone who's not you, because we know when we're too close to it, it just doesn't hit home the same way, right? And I just have found this course to be really effective in supporting families to just really get it, really get the complexities and the nuances that are involved in deaf and hard of hearing development, and all the different elements and factors that play into their success and our children thriving. And that's just been such a beautiful course to release into the world. And I will link it in the show notes in case you want to check it out, and whether it might be something that you feel your family may benefit from as well. But that education with them as well is really important, and just not feeling like you're having to constantly justify your approach and all of that stuff, because that is exhausting, and that really contributes into that mental load, because then you're thinking about, well, I don't know if I want to go to this event or that event, or oh, this person's coming over, and you already start to feel that tightness in your chest, and oh, I really don't want to have this conversation again. And then we can just reduce those interactions within our village, and just really try to start to align our village with the people that get it. And if they're not on the same journey as a parent of deaf child, at least respect it and understand it and are wanting to learn more and be in it. They're all in. Perfect example for me is Frank's, my deaf son's godmother, is also my best mate, and she is honestly one of his favorite people, and she has learnt Auslan. She's amazing. She doesn't think she's that good, but she's amazing. And she has such a beautiful relationship with him, and she makes such an effort. And when I told her this is what we're doing, she's like, right, I'm all in. And she has been by my side from the start. And I still remember when we first found out about Frankie, she just turns up with, I think it was baked goods. That sounds like her, or flowers. I can't remember. But just from the start, she's been there. And yeah, she's not raising a deaf kid herself, but she loves me. She loves my kid. And she's there every step of the way. And she's like, yep, cool. I believe you. I'm on board with you. And let's just do this. So I think that's what I'm talking about, right? Like that really beautiful aligned village that we can just lean on. And so how do we do this, guys? How do we get our little network together? First thing you can do is join some parent groups. Facebook groups are the best. We've got a great one, parents. Oh gosh, I'm going to get this wrong. Parents of Bilingual Deaf and Hard of Hearing Children Australia. That's a long name, but we've got that one. And joining these different support groups, whether they're online or in person. I'm planning to definitely run some of these next year around Australia because I think they're so important. And like the RB Club, again, mentioning that one, is very much that sort of support group where we're all aligned and we're all on that bilingual journey together, and finding those spaces and accessing those spaces and being involved in those spaces and really using those spaces. It's just so important. And if one of those people who are nervous to jump in and introduce yourself or get involved and get engaged, I get it. The first one is always going to be scary, right? The first time you write, hey, my name's blah, blah, I've got this child, this is my story. But the more you really throw yourself into these spaces and connect, you're going to find like lifelong friends. I'm not even kidding. I've got so many families I know their best friends are now parents of deaf kids, because you just click with these people, right? And you don't have to go through the backstory of what's going on in your life. You can start right at the event. There's no context building needed because we get it. We get it. We're all living with a deaf kid. We are so there with you. Seeking out parent mentors is really nice. So you might have parent mentors in your community. I know that Deaf Connect in Australia has a parent mentor program, and there are other organizations around Australia as well. I don't know about outside of Australia, but I know that there would be organizations like that setting this sort of stuff up. Mentors are so important. These parent mentors are also generally those who've gone through it already, right? So they've gone through the battles, the advocacy, the journey, and they've learned a lot of stuff and they're ready to share. And I think there's such space for parent mentors. And if you can find them through these organizations, their stories and advice can be so invaluable. Utilizing professional resources as well. So, as I said before, with your aligned specialists and things like that, you want to make sure that you have a great intervention team around you and around your child. You never want your child feeling like they're failing, feeling like they're not good enough, feeling like there's something wrong with them when they go to these sessions. Like, that's a big red flag. Get out of there. Run. Run as fast as you can. I have had to change. I like to joke and say I had to break up with, but I've had to change ENTs in the past with Frank just because of some of the approach that was being taken in regards to his deafness. And sometimes it's just that we're just not compatible, and that's okay. And we move on and we find that feeling of when you walk in, you feel welcome, you feel comfortable, and you feel like you can sort of sit there and talk about your vision and your philosophy for your family, knowing there's no judgment there. I think that that's the big one. So, yeah, number one, creating that village and aligning that village to your family philosophy is like, whew, so powerful. So, so powerful. Okay, number two in reducing this mental load is simplifying your decision making. So, this is a really important one, I think, because when we first have our deaf kid, the decisions start hard and fast, right? They are there from the beginning, and you're like, hang on, I've just had a baby. I'm very not in this space right now, but you don't really have a choice. Like, you're going to appointments, you're getting whether, devices or having to go to therapies, and this just wasn't part of the vision you had. So there's all these emotions running around in your head and so many decisions. And for those who had, went down the process of implanting their children, early on, if they were born profound, that decision's huge. And, a lot of you are having to make that decision when they're 2, 3 months old, even earlier. My goodness, I think about that often with families like that, and I just think, wow, what an incredibly huge and overwhelming time that would be. And my last episode on the pod place, I spoke with Keely about that very thing. Keely is a parent of a deaf child, and yeah, she really talks about that space and the feelings and the emotions attached to that. And I know a lot of you really connected with her story. So definitely check that episode out if you are one of those parents. So when I talk about simplifying the decision making, I mean doing some of this groundwork in regards to your philosophy, your values, all that sort of stuff. So when you make decisions, it's just easier, it's seamless, as seamless as it can be. And you're not going through the second guessing yourself all the time. Am I doing the right thing? Oh, have I chosen the right therapist? Oh, should I have done that? And all of these decisions. Have I chosen the right school? Did I do that? Did I say the wrong thing in that advocacy meeting? You want to just have such a foundation of understanding of your family value, and I like to call your true north, where you are heading with your child, that you don't feel this need to keep second guessing or doubting yourself. So strategies to simplify our decisions. Number one is prioritize your core values and your true north. So what is your guiding principle or guiding philosophy, and use them, like write them down. I'm talking write them down. Like where do you want your child to be, right? Where are you heading with them? A big one for us and from the start was that Frankie has access to and can navigate with ease and independence and confidence deaf and hearing worlds, right? I wanted him to have access to both. That was non-negotiable, but also be able to gravitate from one to the other and flow really freely between the two. That is what I want. So that's a huge part of our philosophy, right? And so you want to make sure that you've got that really cemented in your mind so that when you're making decisions, you're not second guessing yourself. Like, what are the most important priorities for you, for your child, short term and long term. And so then you can, and just can I say as well, that will change over time. You are going to pivot. Things will change as you get more information and knowledge and connect with more in the communities that you're sort of circulating in. That will for sure evolve, and that's okay. That's life, right? But knowing from the start sort of where you're heading as a big picture and sticking to that is so critical because it really does reduce the stress around decision making. You just know in your heart what you are going to do. And I definitely feel this too. I remember at the very beginning, oh gosh, Frankie would have been 6 weeks old, and I was in a meeting with someone who really didn't agree with me, including a sign language. And this person was very convincing in telling me that it was a waste of time and that it's quote unquote a dying language, and that it would do nothing for my child in the long run and it would limit his opportunities. And this person was so convincing, and I was so vulnerable on this in this point. I was 6 weeks postpartum. I left and just lost it. I started second guessing my entire career. Can you believe that? Like I know that bilingualism is best practice, but I literally started questioning it because of that conversation, because I had not really cemented and written down and got in my head my core values for my child and my guiding principle and my true north. And now that I've done that, if I went into a meeting like that again, whew, would it go differently? Yes, it would. So having that is so important, right? Also, limit your information intake. Okay, so yes, we do want to research and get all the knowledge and just always be staying up to date, and that's really, really important. But you can also get like analysis paralysis, right? If you get too much information coming from all different angles, you can actually feel overwhelmed from all the different conflicting opinions, advice, perspectives. Someone posts an article about something that says sign languages are bad for deaf kids. All of a sudden, you go down a rabbit hole and you're like, well, what are? It's so important that we filter to some extent the information we receive and that we will engage in. Making sure you're focusing on trusted sources, right? Anyone can do a Google search. But where is that information coming from? Where is that journal article coming from? Who's sponsoring that journal article? That's a really important one to remember. Is it peer reviewed? Because the thing is, we can read certain research articles that are very biased, even though it's all underlying and you may not, it's not direct and it's not out there. But then all of a sudden we look back to who was funding the research, and that may give you a lot of information in regards to why that article was written the way it was. So I'm always just really want to educate families around that. When you are going into research and you're wanting to learn more about this space, I'm firstly amazing, good on you, and keep going, woohoo. But also be discerning and filter the information that comes in and really stay within a space that feels comfortable with trusted sources that are really looking at a holistic view when it comes to our deaf kids. And then the last one is making incremental changes within this decision making. So instead of trying to, so say you've got all these ideas for decisions, right? Like, oh, sorry, not decisions, but say you've got all these decisions you have to make. Sorry, you actually don't need to make them all at once, and you can really focus on one decision at a time. And this goes for, say you've got some decisions around medical stuff that you need to make, right? But then also you're in the back of your head, you're thinking about school in 3 or 4 years, and you can't stop thinking about. So then you go down that rabbit hole of school, and then you start going through, okay, I've got to do tours, I've got to do, but you've still got all this medical stuff happening, and then you might have this childcare information happening where you need to go in for an advocacy meeting, and all of a sudden you are completely divided in attention between all these different things, and you can't actually make a decision because you're so overwhelmed. Take the pressure off of trying to change it all at once. And I'm talking because I did this where I just went crazy and I was like, yeah, look, I'm just going to do all the decisions. And then, oh, she's on the floor because she burnt out and she can't keep her eyes open. So don't do that. Focus on one decision at a time, make small changes within that space, and then move on to the next decision. Obviously, prioritizing decisions based on time, sensitivity, and all that stuff is important, but try not to get carried away with trying to juggle all those balls in the air, right? Just focus on what needs to be focused on now, making those small changes is going to serve you so much better than trying to focus and target everything because you're just so overwhelmed and you're like, oh my gosh, if I don't do this, then we're not going to get into the school we want, or we're not going to get this, or okay, all of that stuff. Same with NDIS in Australia. That's a huge battle as well. There's a lot of decisions we have to make. So scaling it back and just focusing on one at a time and knowing that you will get to the other decisions because you're focusing on each one intentionally rather than just trying to do them all at once and then dropping the ball somewhere at some point. Again, speaking from experience. Uh, okay, last one. This is a really important one and something that I'm a huge, huge believer in. To reduce the mental load for us, we need to preserve our energy for the moments that matter. And I use this a lot when we're talking about advocacy as well, and how saving our energy for the big battles and not getting caught up in the little battles. Our energy, we really need to preserve that and look after ourselves in this space because it's pretty wild, right? And obviously I'm not going to go into a spiel about self-care because you should be doing it and so should I. But that's another conversation. But this is more around setting boundaries, right? Setting really clear, intentional boundaries. And so one of those boundaries can be around frequency of therapy. And also, I know a dear client of mine and just friend, she's wonderful. She's actually inspired a lot of parents through her choice to not engage in therapy during school holiday time because she has other kids who go to school. And she doesn't want to be doing therapy appointments during school holidays when she just wants to be with her kids and enjoy her deaf child being a deaf child. And so that's just a boundary that she set that on school holiday periods, there is no therapy. Love it. Like, love it. And I think the only caveat I would say with that is when it comes to deaf mentor time, I actually keep my deaf mentor sessions through holidays because then my hearing son, Billy, gets to have that engagement with the deaf mentor and he loves it. And because Auslan is his language too, and it's such an important part of his life, I want him to be involved as much as I can. And so I do keep deaf mentor sessions going through holidays because that's really important to us. But again, set your boundaries around what you think is important. That's so, so critical. And really not feeling like you need to do all the things all the time. Obviously, in that first year, there's a lot going on. So it's sort of called this front load intensity intervention, right? And that first year after you discover your child's deaf, there is a lot more appointments than after that first year because we really just want to cement that intervention and make sure we're not missing anything and make sure that the child is getting everything they need right off the bat during that critical window of language acquisition, which we know is actually 0 to 3, but that first 1 or 2 years is just, oh my gosh, so rich that we want to get as much language into them as possible. So, yeah, there are certain things that we're like, look, just for now, we need to be a bit more frequent. But in general, there is wiggle room there, and you do need to set boundaries and you need to weigh up your mental health, your child's mental health, your family's obligations and dynamic, and other kids, and just all the juggle, your work, all this stuff. So I think setting boundaries is so, so important because you need to preserve your energy as well. And you also just want your child to be a deaf child, right? And just a child in general, just be able to be them and not always be the therapy kid, not always be at an appointment somewhere. Don't forget about you. And yes, it's not like a super long self-care spiel, but I'm just like, you are important, right? If you're not looking after yourself, you cannot do this journey. We just can't. I mean, we do it, but probably quite poorly. And I've done this too, where if I'm really just completely in the trenches with it, I'm not making the best decisions. I'm having really emotionally charged conversations. I'm reacting to things more. I'm not being proactive. I'm not being smart about my decisions. I'm not clear in my head. There's no clarity there. I'm just a bit of a knee-jerk situation because I've forgotten about me. I've forgotten about the golden goose, forgotten about the person who's sort of, driving this ship and needing to be really on everything all the time. And so you actually do need to look after yourself and take breaks from this journey and thinking about this journey. And that can be really hard because we're so consumed by it. But get a hobby. Okay. I'm talking get a hobby. Mine is skateboarding. And you know what? As I'm recording this, I haven't skateboarded for 2 months. And when I was skateboarding regularly, oh my goodness, I would calendar it in. It would be like 9 to 9:30 skateboarding. Like I literally did because it just, and not like I'm not going to skate parks and doing ollies and kick flips. I'm not that sort of skateboarder. I'm more like the surf skate cruiser skateboarder where I just go down a path and I just cruise. And it's like my meditation, right? And I just put some music in and it was just me and it was, heaven. And this is actually going to kickstart me to get back into it because I realized it's something really important to me. Another thing for me is yoga. I know a lot of people either love it or hate it. I am also a yoga teacher. So for me, that practice is super critical and I haven't been practicing lately. And so that is, and I can feel it. I can just feel that I'm not where I should be and making these decisions and being present in these meetings and really coming with my best foot forward and making proactive change. And so we do need to look after ourselves. Okay. And whatever that is for you, it could literally be getting one of those $2 face masks from Woolworths, which is a shop in Australia, and just chucking on your face, watching a few episodes of Friends. Again, I know I'm speaking from experience. This may not resonate with you, but if you don't like Friends, I don't know what to say to you. But yeah, key takeaway there is you have to actually put and calendar and schedule in time just for you to like reset, right? So critical. 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, I swear it'll change your life. It will. And I've actually inspired myself to get back into it. So I'll let you know how I go. And then the last one, guys, which we all know, but it's actually focusing on that quality time with our kids and letting them just be kids and not always feeling like you have to stick to this, rigid regime that someone else has set up for you. Particularly, I would say with our CI kids, there is a lot of expectations on our CI kids to always be wearing that CI all waking hours, and same with the hearing aids, wearing them all waking hours. And yes, of course, the benefits of consistent wear of devices is well researched. We know this, but having an hour here and there, or 15 minutes here and there, or just like they want to play in the sprinkler, take the devices off, let them chill. They need a bit of downtime in the afternoon. Put them up on the bench and just let them be them. It's this whole balance, but it's about going, hey, yeah, my kids had a really huge week of appointments. Let's just let them do what they want to do. Let's do a puzzle, get one on one with them, and just enjoy them. Enjoy your kids. The laundry, the dishes, the emails. Oh my gosh, my inbox, they can wait, right? They can wait. I mean, my laundry is pretty bad, probably can't wait, but it can wait. It can wait because, yeah, this journey can be so consuming. And if we don't intentionally take the time to have these mini breaks throughout the day and enjoy our kids and look after ourselves, then the mental load creeps up and it gets harder and harder to scale back. It gets harder and harder to come back to reset, right? So that is basically the three strategies I wanted to talk about today. The first one, again, let's just recap. The first one again is creating that aligned, supportive village around you, right? And having that no judgment space where you can just be you, go through all the emotions of this journey and know you've got these people and they've got your back. Simplifying that decision making by really instilling in yourself what your core values are, your philosophy, and your true north for your family and your child. So, so important. And then preserving your energy for the moments that matter. And I wanted to add to that one because I forgot to just before. In regards to advocacy, this is huge too. So we really need to preserve our energy when it comes to advocacy because advocacy fatigue is real, it's alive, and it's well. And if we don't pick our battles and really preserve our energy for the ones that matter and are going to make the biggest impact on our child, we will burn out. It's not a maybe, it's a will. So sometimes I say, yeah, okay, the person in the park at the park asked you a question or says something super ignorant about your child. Yeah, you could arc up and get frustrated and say something back, or do we let that one slide through to the keeper? Do we just go, you know what, I'm gonna let that one roll off because I'm just gonna cruise through. I'm not gonna direct any energy towards that. I'm preserving, I'm preserving, I'm preserving. So it also helps with advocacy, that last one. Okay, everyone, that is it from me. Episode 5, done and dusted. Tick. I'm loving this. I'm so glad that you were here. I'm so grateful that you were here. I hope that you got some nuggets of wisdom out of this session. And I will put in the show notes all the information I talked about today. So, my extended family and friends course, the RB Club waitlist, which is very exciting. So, that will be opening up to wider audience next year. That is our private parent community where I'm very active in. I'm almost in there every day. We have monthly catch ups, and I also release content every month to support our community in advocacy and bilingual development. There's lots of stuff around devices, Q and A's. It's just amazing. So I will put that all in the show notes for you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful week wherever you are in the world. And I shall see you next episode. Have a good one.